Writer Daisy Goodwin has a piece about this in the Mail today. She talks about the pain and heartbreak that she felt when her mother left her less money than her other three siblings. She writes that her mother was aware of all of her children's financial situations when she wrote her will and that she divided it up accordingly. But even if one sibling like Daisy is better off financially than the others, do you think you should reflect this in your will? I'd love to hear from you on this one. Has something like this happened to you? Were you left less money than your siblings? Maybe you're planning to do exactly the same thing for your own children. If one is affluent and successful financially, the others are not. Maybe you are going to give less money to the wealthy one. Anthea, what do you think about that?
I can understand that happening. I can't imagine doing it myself, but I can understand if there is one child that is struggling, you would want to help that, and maybe the rest of the siblings would as well, and say, I completely understand, don't worry, Mum, Dad.
See, Daisy writes that although she kind of in inverted commas understands because her siblings are less well off than she is, it's hurt her deeply, absolutely deeply. She has felt, incredibly rejected by it. And it has felt like a sort of a gesture almost from beyond the grave. Her mother saying, you're equally my child, but I'm leaving you less of what I have to leave.
But love isn't down to money, so I don't know why if she understands, I don't know why she feels like that.
Oh, no.
She really does feel like that.
I really understand. I mean, I'm an only child, so I'm safe on this one. Yeah. But, the fact is that's the final interaction. And whether or not she understands conceptually and whether or not her mother spoke to her about it beforehand and she knew it, to hear those words said that you are being treated differently, that in a sense is the final message. And I think, speaking as a parent, that would not be the final message I would want to give my child, regardless of their financial circumstances.
What do you think, Daniel?
I think it's the repercussions after as well, because that parent is left and then the children are there to feel disheartened or uncomfortable about it, and there's resentment. Like you do. I think of obviously my family and different scenarios where people have died and someone has been in charge or had to deal with the money side of things, and it causes so many arguments and problems.
But what happens
it should be equal, 100%.
When it comes to siblings, what happens if maybe one child has done more for that parent in their old age? Maybe that there was one child who took them to hospital, cleaned the house, went shopping for them, and physically did more. And maybe they need to be rewarded a little bit.
I don't know if it works like that. Isn't it the thing about you're equally that person's child?
Exactly.
You are all the...
But it seems like it's all coming down to money, and maybe it shouldn't.
There was one example that really resonated with me, and that was Simon Cowell's mother, who I had the pleasure of meeting. She's a really delightful person, absolutely charming. And when she passed away, she left her money equally to her three sons. She didn't think, well, Simon, you're a multimillionaire, so I'll just write you out, won't leave you anything. Joining us now is Daisy Goodwin. She's written about it in the Mail today. And this is all about how she felt when her mother left more to her siblings in her will. Daisy, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, this was because you're more financially successful than your brother and your sisters, and so your mum was sort of evening off the amounts. Was that what was going on, do you think?
I think there was a bit of that, and I think that's the rational explanation. But I think she also was, trying to convey to me that she hadn't been happy about a book that I'd written about my childhood, which I didn't think was particularly hard on her, but I think she felt that I'd betrayed her by doing that. So I think this was her way of evening the score. And so she left me £5,000, and she left the others, the rest of her estate, basically, which was surprisingly large because she'd bought a house in Spitalfields, which had gone up in value about 10 million times. And I really don't begrudge the money because, I was brought up by my father, I have to say, not to expect to inherit anything. So that's fine. But I do question the fact that she didn't tell me she was going to do this, because it was a bit of a kick in the teeth. I mean, I was very, I was grieving her, and then I get this letter saying that she'd done this. And she did say she didn't do it because she loved me any the less, but that's how it felt.
And does it still feel like that, Daisy? You've had a few years now to kind of get used to it, to kind of absorb it. Does it still feel like a blow? Does it still feel as if she's sort of saying, I love you a bit less than the others?
I understand it, but I also think that I would never do that to my kids. I just think that The only fair and just thing to do is to divide all your money equally, because that way, you know, whatever happens, you've been fair about it. And I think that the temptation is to try and control things beyond the grave. You think you know what's best for your children, but actually, I think you have to let them do the right thing. And I think that the sensible thing to do is to leave it to them all equally. And if you've brought them up right, then if one of them doesn't have any money, they're going to do the right thing. And if they don't, well, that's not something you can control. But I think it saves an awful lot of heartbreak later. Of course, I understand why my mother did it. I don't think it was entirely rational, her decision. And I could have accepted it better if she'd actually looked me in the eye and said, look, Daisy, I'm doing this because. But she didn't do that. And I think because she knew that I would be hurt by it, which I was.
I've known you for very many years, and I'm really sorry that you're so obviously very deeply hurt by it. And I really appreciate you joining us. And I don't think you'll be at all surprised to hear, Daisy, that the lines have absolutely flooded with calls on this. So you are most certainly not alone. Sending you lots of love. Daisy, a real pleasure having you on the programme. Let's go directly to Michael in London. Michael, what do you think about this?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I feel that it has to be looked at in a case-by-case situation. And if I was to give you my experience, which is my brother had benefited all of his life financially from my parents. He actually remortgaged the house in their name. He squandered their savings. He took loans and debts out in their names. So when my father passed, we had a conversation just before that. After all the debts have been paid back and it went 50-50, when one actually calculates it, he would have walked away with his debts paid off that he took out of my parents' names. And I would probably walk away about 20% and he would walk away about 75-80%. So I feel my dad felt like, whereas he's benefited and he'd done all of these things, that he just removed him from the will. Even my mother's domiciliary care came to about 10,000, which he went unpaid because he was supposed to be governing their finances, but in actual fact, he was stealing the money.
And so tell me something, how has your brother responded to that?
Well, he's not responded very well. I mean, he knows that, yes, well, like I said, one has to look at it from a fair point of view. And if it was 50-50, then he would have benefited way more than what I done. He got many more perks that I didn't get. So I feel that 50-50 can be slightly unfair in certain cases.
All right, Michael, thank you. You make an excellent point. Thank you very much. Let's go to Julia in West Sussex. Tell me, your mother was Norwegian, Julia, so that affected how this all worked out.
Yes, very sensible.
Yeah.
Under Norwegian law, don't have to leave your children anything, but if you do, you will leave it in equal shares.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it?
And I talk from bitter experience with my brother, who tried to tell me the firstborn son gets everything. I'm thinking, no, I've got a copy of my mother's will. It doesn't say that. So I had a battle royal for about 18 months.
Gosh.
So there we go.
But how could he battle if the will clearly stated half and half? What battle was there?
Oh, to stall, to talk to the Norwegian estate agents. I mean, it was complicated. I'm trying to sell a property in Oslo from afar.
Yeah.
It wasn't straightforward, but I got there in the end.
Good for you. It's amazing the amount of bad feeling, though, isn't it, that can be generated by wills. You know, you think you will get along fine and suddenly you fall out big time over these things.
Oh, well, I decided to have nothing to do with my brother thereafter.
Not surprised. Not surprised. He obviously behaved abominably and was trying to somehow do you out of your rightful inheritance, which really, really is awful behaviour. So, Julia, thanks so much. Let's talk to Michelle in Warwickshire. It's ongoing now with you, Michelle. What's going on?
It's different with me because it's a step family as well. My mum, she passed in 2014, but as far as my mum was concerned, she had 5 children, whether it be 3 from her first marriage and then 2 from the second marriage.
Right.
Things have changed since Mum passed and a new will has been made. My younger brother is out of the will completely.
What do you mean a new
he's
will
not
has been
very
made
good.
since she passed? That sounds a bit weird.
Because it's my stepfather's will now.
Oh, I see. I see. He's changed the will. So
Yeah.
his intentions are different from your late mother's intentions. She would have treated
Most
you all
definitely.
equally, but your stepfather doesn't want to.
We are 5 children.
Yeah.
So the younger one has now been taken out of the will completely.
Gosh.
He's not a good boy, but he is a good boy. But at the end of the day, my mother had 5 children, and now the oldest sibling from my stepfather tends to inherit, when he goes, the majority of it.
Oh, gosh. And you know about this. This isn't even going to be a terrible shock. You already know about it. So do you think
but
there's anything you can do about this at all?
Vanessa, it's not about the money.
No.
The money is irrelevant. It's the principle, and it's the fact that my mom had 5 children. And we should all be treated the same.
Totally
regardless.
get it. Is it possible to speak to your stepfather about it? To just say, look, this isn't what Mum wanted, and you know it's not because you saw her will, so you know?
It's always, it's been ongoing, and yes, we've had conversations, but his answer was he can still change it again if we contest it.
Oh, for goodness sake. Oh, dear. Gosh, isn't
That's
it?
awful.
It's such a heart-rending situation. It really is. I'm so sorry, Michelle. That's awful. Let's talk to Rosalind in Wiltshire. What do you think, Rosalind?
My mum didn't actually leave a will. But when she was poorly, she'd had a stroke. And because I moved in to basically look after her, because my family lived in America and Canada. And my mum said she wanted me to have everything. Now, when my brother and sister come over to visit, I let them choose some jewellery to take back with them. But my brother, my half-brother, got all nasty because he wanted something particular that I wasn't prepared to let him have. There was some stuff I was happy for them to take away to give to their wives, you know, and for the girls to keep.
Yeah.
But I wasn't particularly willing to let him have that because it's something that my dad, who was not his dad, bought for my mum.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared to let him have that. And I got really upset because he then stormed off, and then they went back to Canada, and I've not heard from him since. And actually, my half sister hasn't heard from him. You know, he's gone off into the wild somewhere. But I was just following what my mum said. I looked after her, and I didn't expect everything. But she said, because I was the one who cared for her, because I was the one who cared
Rosalind.
for her, I should have everything. But I wanted the girls to have stuff because my mum had a lot of opal rings and stuff that was her side, and they're bad luck for me. But I didn't want them to go to waste. But I wanted them to have something. I wasn't prepared to let them have something that my dad bought.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes absolute sense. Rosalind, I'm so sorry, and obviously you're still grieving, and that's a very moving call. I appreciate your calling. Thank you, and lots of love. I mean, you can see, can't you, how upsetting this is, and how heartrending it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have my mum's actually. My mum's opal ring.
Yeah.
Must be a thing from Staffordshire.
Yeah.
And I have my mum's opal ring, and I that means more to me than anything. Her engagement ring.
I mean, the sort of level of emotion involved in this. And after all, we're not the royal family. Most of us haven't got, works of art that are Picassos and, Renoirs, and we haven't got exquisite items of jewellery. But one small opal ring that may be worth nothing very much at all can absolutely mean the world, don't you think, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be honest, I say to my parents all the time, just spend your money. I don't want the I don't want the hassle more than anything. But I think it should be equal, and then be able to pick and choose what you can get if it's a harmonious environment.
But you hear of siblings falling out over a kitchen cupboard, a lawnmower. I'm not kidding. Things that would have a sort of net worth of like £15, and yet the kind of the feelings run so high over these things. Let's talk to Sharon in Staffordshire. What happened, Sharon, in your family?
Well, basically, when my nan died, she didn't even mention my father in the will. he was one of 6. Granted, there were only 5 of them left by the time his mother died, but he wasn't even mentioned, and he never got over it.
Really?
It upset him so much. He mentioned it quite a lot. I mean, he's dead now. He died 2 years ago, unfortunately. But yeah, he was heartbroken. I think he took it that he was loved the least.
And was there any reason why? Did you ever find out why he wasn't mentioned?
Well, he always thought, as has already been sort of mentioned, that he had perhaps done the most sort of financially. He owned his own home. He wasn't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he perhaps thought that his mother thought that he had done better than his siblings. But, I think there was a footnote in the will to say that he was to have a choice of whatever was left. And I think he struggled to even get an ornament, to be honest with you. So he was always quite upset and quite bitter about it, but yeah.
So you've learned, I'm sure you've learned in your family a big lesson from the fact that he carried that grief with him for so long. That is, don't do that, I suppose.
Absolutely. And actually, when he died 2 years ago, everything was split equally between myself and my brother. Yeah. So, yeah, lessons learned, Vanessa.
Lessons learned. OK, well, I'm glad we talked about this. And we've had so many calls on it. Thank you so much to everyone who rang in about it.